God Remains, a poem of praise by Sophie Taylor, December 2020. I have been hungry and I have been filled, but God remains the same. I have known joy and I have known sorrow, but God remains the same. I have succeeded and I have failed, but God remains the same. I have been careless and I have been wise, but God remains the same. I have been hopeful and I have despaired, but God remains the same. I have loved poorly and I have loved well, but God remains the same. My days have been empty and they have been full, but God remains the same. I have known chaos and I have known calm, but God remains the same. I have known plenty and I have known want, but God remains the same. I have lived rightly and I have done wrong, but God remains the same. I have borne children and I have miscarried, but God remains the same. I've been exhausted and I've been renewed, but God remains the same. I've chosen caution and I've chosen folly, but God remains the same. I've been rebellious and I have obeyed, but God remains the same. I have been tarnished and I have been pure, but God remains the same. I have been grateful and I have complained, but God remains the same. I have served others and they have served me, but God remains the same. I have known pleasure and I have known pain, but God remains the same. I've been accepted and I've been ignored, but God remains the same. I have had little and I have had much, but God remains the same. I have been fragile and I have been strong, but God remains the same. I've carried others and they've carried me, but God remains the same. I have seen beauty and I've seen decay, but God remains the same. I have been worried and I've been at peace, but God remains the same. I have been right and I have been wrong, but God remains the same. I have seen unity and I've seen discord, but God remains the same. I have been shattered and I've been made whole, but God remains the same. I have been bitter and I have forgiven, but God remains the same. I have been blameless and I've been at fault, but God remains the same. I have wronged others and they have wronged me, but God remains the same. I have known trauma and I have known trust, but God remains the same. I have seen life and I have seen death, but God remains the same. The land beneath our feet may shift, but God remains the same. The oceans swell and roar and rage, but God remains the same. Nations rise and nations fall, but God remains the same. The finite to their time are bound, but God remains the same. Take comfort in the truth you know, God remains the same. Whatever else may come or go, God remains the same.